All right, so now that we understand frames, and the basic, easiest way to understand frames is imagine you were a little kid, and you're drawing in the corners of the text of a math book or on a post-it notes, and you're just doing your little flip book of a character running. That's essentially frames. Okay, when you think about frames, that's essentially how it works. It's for each piece of paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the tools. So I'm going to go through each tool, and I'm going to go through the keyboard shortcut that you use for each one. So the first tool is the pen tool, and it's P on the keyboard. Okay, so I have P selected. I'm going to go down here. This is your color selector. So with color selectors in most art programs, you have your primary and your secondary colors. And it's typically, like it says, it shows primary is your left mouse button. So if I click with my left mouse button, that would draw out my color there. Then I would be clicking. So right now I'm clicking with my left mouse button to pick the primary color. Secondary color, picking with the left mouse button. So right mouse button, excuse me. So that's pretty cool. So left for the primary, right for the secondary. So that's basically the pen tool in a nutshell. That's what you're going to be drawing with this whole entire time. Okay. So that's P on the keyboard. Next one is the bucket tool. So let's go ahead real quick here. Just like any other art program, if you fill in something, you're typically using the paint bucket tool. So right here we have red and then the darker red, and we want to just fill that in without having to color all of it in, though that's not too big of a deal. You're going to push B on the keyboard, paint bucket tool, and you're going to go ahead and select red. Same thing, if I wanted that to be a solid square, I would, instead of left clicking like I just did, I would right click for the secondary color. Okay, so very easy. Then you have your eraser tool. And basically, eraser tool is exactly what it is. E on the keyboard, and just go through and erase everything that we just did. All right, so the next one is the shapes tool. So one of the shapes that you can use by default is, and this is what I use to create this character, is the triangle tool. So let's go ahead, and I'm actually just going to go ahead and recreate the character. Okay, so I'm going to show you with the triangle tool how that all works. So basically, I will take this color here. Let's see. So that's going to be the main color. That'll be the secondary color, or vice versa. So my secondary color, and this is going to be my primary color. It's interesting. Well, let me pick it. Oh, it's because I'm on a different layer. Okay, I'll get into layers in just a little bit here in another lecture. But let's go ahead with the rectangle tool, so R on the keyboard. I'm just going to draw out the character's head. Okay, and then I will also draw out his hat. All right, so right here I know that this is going to be a different color. I had it selected kind of at a darkish color there. So I'll just go ahead and fill it in with my bucket tool. So we'll go ahead and just use what we learned. B on the keyboard for the bucket tool. And I'm going to click my left mouse button to select the primary color. So there we go. So there's that. And then right down here, we have his head, and it's a different color. So I'm going to select left on the keyboard. Okay, so now it has kind of an outline, a little bit different than the original. But if I wanted to, this is something that you won't do. With any paint program, this is something you don't do. So when you use a paint bucket tool on a certain color, it's going to change that whole color that it's connected to. So for example, if I want to change this all red, say I just want to change this part, I'm going to click red. So the right button on the mouse, so to select the secondary color, and it's going to change it all red. So I don't want that. So basically what I would do is I just come here and I would select the color, use my eraser tool. This is the pen dropper tool. I get this. I use this a lot, but it's O on the keyboard, and I'll get to what that is, though you can already see what it is. And there we go. We basically just recreated a simple version of this character using the rectangle tool, basically. Okay, so I'll go ahead and delete that layer because I don't need that. All right, so that's just an example of the rectangle tool and how easy it is to use that. If you want to create perfect square to keep it in ratio aspect 1:1, you're just going to hold shift and drag. All right, so the next part is your move tool. So say I don't want the character right here, I want to move him over here. Now watch, in my live preview, this is something that happens. It's going to be jumping around because I only moved the one frame. However, in this awesome free app, it allows you to apply to all frames, to all layers if you have multiple layers. So let's go ahead and apply it to all frames. So I'm going to hit shift on the keyboard and I'm going to move it over to this side. And check that out. It moves all of my frames over to that one side. If I click shift, drag, it's going to move it over there. So it's going to move all of them over there. If I want to move just the one again, just like I showed you before, it's just going to move the one frame. Okay, so we'll undo all that, Control Z on the keyboard. Now, the next thing that I'll go to is the select tool. And the select tool you'll use an awful lot. So for example, if I was to take and select this image and I cut and paste it, so I'm going to hit Control X to cut, and then I'm going to take the actual blue square that shows where I just selected and I'm going to drag it. And as I'm dragging, it's showing the silhouette of the image that I just cut, which is really, really handy. And then to paste it, I'm just going to hit Control V on my keyboard to paste. So again, if you're familiar with art programs, you know how the selection tool works. Lightening. So this is really cool, the lighten tool. So it's both lighten and darken is what it can do. So for example, let's go ahead and mimic this same shadowing for all these frames. I don't know if I'm going to do it for all of them because that'll take a while, but we'll just use this as an example. So to darken, I would hold Control and then Shift. It says apply only once per pixel, and I'll show you what it means by that. So if I drag over this whole image, as you can see, the more that I drag over it with this tool, the more lighter it gets. Because basically what it's doing, it's finding the highlight, and the highlight is what's closest to white. If you're looking at this here, it is basically going in this direction. Okay? And then if I want to darken, I would do just the opposite, and that's going to be Control on the keyboard. And that's going to go through and it's going to darken those certain pixels. Well, let's say you were looking for that kind of look. Okay, that's cool. But say you were just looking to just do a shading for one particular spot. Well, I'll just do what it says here. It says hold shift to apply once per pixel. So let's say I just want to darken this side of his top hat. So I'm just going to hold shift and, well, actually this is to lighten. So I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to apply it to this side of his top hat for the lighting part. Okay, so what it's going to do, it's going to pick the next color up from that to give it that highlight. Same thing, I'll do the same here, holding down shift. It's going to apply once per pixel. So if I go over this again, it's going to lighten it up again, holding shift still. If I go over it again, it'll lighten up another color there. So there you go, you can see the different colors. But that's just a really quick, awesome way to look. It added some highlight. It looks like he's got light shining behind him just a little bit. Same thing, if I wanted to add shadow, I would do just the same thing. I would hold shift and Control. First I would hit Control and then I would do shift. So Control, shift at the same time. And check that out. It goes and it creates a shadow. So how cool is that? So right there, I went over that part just a little bit by accident. But really quick way to add highlights in your art, which is just really cool. Can't stress how cool this free tool is. Oops. So we'll do shift for darken and then Control just to make sure it stays all one colored pixel. It's not really working down there. That's interesting. Shift to darken. That's why I went back to my pen tool by accident. So I'd go back to the lighten tool, U on the keyboard, and Control and Shift. And there we go. So he's half darker in one area and lighter on the other. You got the shadow on one side and then just the middle neutral color. So that is just a quick run through of those first tools there. It looks like we got 6 of them, and then we'll go over the 7th, the color picker, which you'll use always, and then we'll go over these ones on this side in the next lecture. Okay. So if you have any questions, be sure to leave a comment in the discussion, and I will see you in the next lecture.